Welcome to another live episode of Halftime Adjustments. Your host, Eddie Arnell, and my man, Mr. J. Lou. What's going on, J. Lou?
What's going on, Ed? Tighten up, baby. Tighten
Tighten
up.
up, man. Here we are, week 3 in the books. Coming in, man. This is one of those games that we knew that we had to have, man. We had to have one because how the first 2 weeks panned out. Back-to-back weeks where we saw this offense get out the gate kind of quick, right? At first, and then after that, just kind of was inept. I'll say it that way. And you had a lot of the fire tide downing petitions going on, and something we were saying last year after last season. And 7 points against the Bills wasn't good enough. Then you don't even score basically in the second half against the Giants. You got another game where you come out fast and then you can't even score the second half, basically, one score. And then the starters get pulled in the third quarter against the Bills. Man, this thing was just snowballing, right? And so had to get a dub, right? Had to get a dub. Defense gives up 41 points last week. We saw the secondary bust coverage so much. Caleb Farley took a lot of heat for his play last week. Cunningham taking a lot of heat for his play. Linebacker play was, has been terrible. Hey, man, but we get the dub. Titans 24, Las Vegas Raiders 22. J. Lou, man, give me your first take on this game yesterday, man.
Well, man, I think the one thing we like to see, we talked about it all season long, and one of the things that they had to improve on was the starting fast. Right. We're now 3 for 3, opening drives, scoring touchdowns. That's phenomenal. We've seen it. The funny thing in the stands yesterday, our section kept saying, after we scored the first touchdown, okay, we've seen this the last 2 weeks. Let's see if we can sustain it. They put together a great first half of football. I thought on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. And then Todd Downing started calling plays at the 2-minute warning in the first half, and we saw the effects of that the second half. Now, going back and watching the tape and watching the film, I'm not gonna call it I think the Giants game they went conservative.
Right.
I think this game against the Raiders was a little bit more execution, but dumb play calling in the second half. I thought. Now you got to think. To me, the difference in the game is a handful of them, but the difference in the game is a tell of two halves, because I know we'll go into stats, but when you look at time of possession, almost even. Right. But you got to remember, we got the ball first in the beginning of the game, 8-minute drive, we score 7. Right. They get the ball first in the second half, 8-minute drive, they score 3.
Right.
That's a huge difference. So you didn't have a lot of possessions in the second half, but I don't think we maximized the ones. And one play in particular that sticks out to me, the 3rd and 1. Like we're struggling on 3rd down and short.
Wow.
It makes no sense. So we do the right thing, and you give the ball to King Henry on 3rd and 1. But you take the fullback out, you go into single back with twin sets, and this is how predictable. I want everybody who watches the show. This is how predictable Downing has gotten. Watch whatever side the motion is going to, the run is going there 100% of the time.
Thank you.
100% of the time.
And who's in motion?
You're right. Whoever's in motion, whether it's swing, whether it's a fullback,
that's right.
Wherever, even the wide receivers, when you put the wide receivers in motion, it's going that way the whole time. And you saw that go from a 3rd and 1 to a 4th and 4. Now I have no fault with them going for it on 4th down. I kind of like that, because at that point you're trying to put a drive together and try to end the game. Tannehill, like I've been saying most of the season, he's just a tad slow on his passes. Now again, Burke still got to make that catch.
Got to.
I don't know why he jumped, but that ball was behind him. If Tannehill puts it out there, he's probably running for 6. And then, think about it on the defensive side of the ball. We're really starting to see kudos to my man, Big Jeff. I don't know any 315-pounders that can play 70 snaps a game. The same with Denico. I know a lot of people was, calling for Vrabel coaching move on why he called timeout on 4th and 15. Go back and watch the film, because you saw Denico and Jeff, they were gasping for air. So I think that was a timeout that was more to get them a little breather. But overall, a dub is a dub. Right. It's a lot easier to work on things after a win than try to work on them after a loss.
That's exactly right. And you said a lot of good points there, man. And so my first take is, again, and this is something you and G was talking about yesterday. I mean, today, texting back and forth. It almost seems like, J. Lou, that we had the playbook from Tim Kelly in the first half. Because you look at the design of the plays.
Yes.
How often did Todd Downing put the King in pass routes? You know, having them out in check downs. And so
he had 3 catches in the first half.
right. And so, that's something we talked about. If you go back and look at our show, or some of our preseason shows, we talked about, if the King can have 1,500 yards rushing, probably 350 to 500 yards receiving, man, that's MVP status right there.
Yes.
And this team is balling. But, you can tell the difference between the play call in the first half and second half. And I do agree with you, Lamonte. He said Tannehill was throwing in some closed windows. I don't know why he was hesitating so much on throwing the ball in the second half. He was, at one time, he had only missed one pass in the first half. And in the start of the fourth quarter, he was 3 of 7. And so that just goes to show you that, to your point, J. Lou, there wasn't a lot of possession in the second half, but the execution of the offense was poor, just like you said. But you got to take your hat off, man, for NPF, man. What a job he did on Max Crosby.
And if you go back and watch it, like, he got baptized as a rookie yesterday.
He did.
But the biggest thing you like is he didn't give up the game-changing plays. It almost happened, and then NWI makes the fumble recovery.
Right.
I think that was the one that you really saw. Now, Max had some pass breakups, pass back downs, and stopping the King, but he didn't do nothing that got them out of rhythm. And I thought, for the most part, NPF held his own, because it was a lot of time that he was out there by himself.
Man, he did.
With no help. So,
and the last time we saw Chandler Jones, man, he had a field day, and he was
I forgot he was on the field yesterday.
That's right. Yeah. He was awfully quiet yesterday. And so, there's some of the things on the offensive side of the ball. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball, because I'm gonna say this name, Mack Hollins. Who is Mack Hollins, you ask? I know who knows who Mack Hollins is after yesterday. It's darn Terrence Mitchell. Terrence Mitchell. I mean, my Lord, what? God, I just don't understand how they play him over Farley. Now, I know Farley has his issues, but I'm going to roll with Farley before I bring a guy in that's off the street. No, not off the street per se, but on another squad, right? Yes. And he's only been with the team for a few days of practice. And he gets the lion's share of the snaps, and he gets roasted by a no-name receiver who probably just made a Pro Bowl off one game.
So, I mean, and again, I saw somebody put in the chat, the name of the show is Halftime Adjustments, which is what you struggle with.
Right.
That goes to show you that the Raiders did that adjustment at half, because I think after the half, there was 150 yards given up by Mr. number 39, Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah.
This is an indictment on not only Farley, and again, I'm not giving up on Caleb yet, because you drafted him as a project. He hadn't played. And this is a more indictment on the coaching staff, I think, because you pulled him out of the game. Let's go back to last week, the blowout in Buffalo. You yanked him out of the game at halftime because he gave up. I mean, he lost Stephon Diggs. We get it. Caleb Farley, I think he would tell you he had a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
You allowed Mitchell to stay in the game all game, and then Derek Carr, to his credit, he was looking at the lineup every time, wherever 39, whoever was lined up on 39, that's where we were throwing the ball. So, I mean, he wasn't cut today. I would expect him to be cut, but I don't know how you let somebody like that play over somebody who's been in the system. And from all accounts, you heard he was having a good camp. The only thing you kept saying was he needed to get more playing time.
I know.
I think yesterday was the difference between yesterday and the Buffalo game is, at least yesterday, Farley could have really been your number 3, because you had your number 1 in Christian Fulton back. So you're not throwing, I mean, when Farley was out there last week, we're in essence asking him to be number 2. That's how he's ended up on Diggs a lot. So he could have been the 3, and I think you could have gave him a little bit more help, because we had a good scheme against Waller and I thought Devontae. But I don't get, there was no adjustment made.
No.
And the very last, the touchdown that he gave up, he gave up 2 4th down catches on that drive.
More than 15.
More than 15.
How did you get that up? Bomb. And he was already 10 yards off the ball when it was snapped.
When it was snapped. And then the touchdown, I don't even know if he jumped. I mean, it looked like he just reached over his head and took it. But we can't get Eric Molden back quick enough, man.
Yeah. Molden is definitely. got to come back and Elijah Molden. So, this is what week 4. So week 5, he'll be back against the Commanders.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he can't come back quick enough. And so, yeah, let me get some of these comments real quick, J. Lou. Yeah, I understand it's not the OC Lamonte, but you got to realize too what we're saying here is if you look at those plays in the second half, they were too predictable. I mean, too predictable. So if you notice a lot in the first half, we were running a lot of what he had a little play action like he was giving it to Derrick Henry like an RPO. Right.
Yes.
I don't think that's what it was, but it was. We've never, since Downing's been here, we haven't done that.
No.
If you noticed. And so that's how I know Tim Kelly was well involved in that first half of play calling, if you will. Now, second half, like you mentioned, on that third one, motion guy, tight formation, it's coming around the middle. Why not have a fullback in the game? Right. And then, of course, and he made a good point, Lamonte did. Tannehill was hitting the check downs, and he tries to go deep, and he throws a bad ball. He throws it behind him. He throws it over the head. Whatever the case, he threw a bad interception. And so, I mean, it's a little bit to go around on all sides, but I just think again the play calling is too predictable, especially in the second half. Man, this is another game just like the first game, but I think we could have really blew the team out.
Yeah, I mean, the one great example of the play calling changing. The screen plays, that's how you stop a pass rush.
That's right.
You screen pass. Everybody knows that. It was work. We saw it. If Derrick Henry catches that first one clean, he might have scored.
Right.
I think the hesitation is what allowed, even though he got a lot of yards, it still allowed the defense to get in position. We went away from that the second half, and you called it at the most predictable time after you lost 5 yards on first down and 2nd and 15. Everybody in the stadium knew you were screen passing that time, and it got blown up. So when we talk about the predictability, there's no flow. Like if you go back and just look at the tale of two halves,
right?
The first half of the first half's offense, you didn't know what they were going to do when they were going to do it. I thought for the first time, and we've been screaming it for a while, I thought Tannehill did a great job taking the check downs because if you go back and look, the Raiders were giving you 10 yards a pop if you just checked it down to the running backs or even a tight end. So I thought he did a good job with that. You'd like to see him get Bobby Trees involved in the first half. Same thing with Treylon Burks, but I think we got a little stagnant. And again, a lot of it, if you go back and look, you had the ball half of a quarter in the third, and then the fourth quarter, you got to the point, like I felt near the end, they were playing not to lose the game, and that's how you end up getting yourself almost beat.
Right. And then another point, since we're on the offense, let's go ahead and break the offense down. So another point, J. Lou, that we brought up is how is Jeff Swain getting more reps than Austin Hooper? In my mind, it just don't make sense. It don't make sense at all. You see him in these positions where they're throwing on the ball. I think he had one more target than Hooper did. Hooper got 2 catches, but he had some meaningful yards on his catches, but he's in the game. I mean, it's a disparity in the plays. I forgot how you sent it to me earlier.
Yeah, he played 40 snaps, which was second most, I think, for skilled players. And again, if you listen to Vrabel, who I love Vrabel, but when you listen to him, he's the best blocking tight end. I saw at least a few times yesterday where he whiffed and got blown up.
But that's like every week, though. So I don't understand how he's saying that.
So this, I think I gave the perfect analogy earlier today. Everybody was wondering how Logan Woodside kept having a role on this team. And Vrabel kept saying they like him because he know the playbook, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's what you got with Jeff Swain because, again, there's no reason that you drafted Chig to try to be the Jonnu Smith that you lost 2 years ago that you're regretting. You know you made that mistake.
Right.
Chig played 8 plays yesterday. How are you not scheming up? And this is where we go back to offensive coordinator and just the play calling and scheming. Again, let's look on the other side. I think that what's McDaniels, is that his name? Josh McDaniels, is that the coach for the Raiders? I think the coach for the Raiders, I think he's a better offensive coordinator, not a good head coach.
Right.
You saw the second half, he schemed up to get the ball to that receiver that was killing 39 the whole time.
Right.
We're not scheming open plays for our person. Like there's no way that Chig has no targets yesterday and only played 8 plays. So, I mean, Jeff Swain, and again, when you're not using him, I didn't see a lot of tight formations outside of when we were running. I mean, everybody in the stadium knows if you bring in Swain and
Hollister
at the same time, that's a run.
Shout out to Ken Lou for that, man. Yeah, because he's right.
So everybody knows that's a run. So I don't get the infatuation they have with Swain, man. And then granted, he catches the ball, but I mean, it's you got better weapons that you can use outside of him.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point, Taylor, where's Chig? Yeah, you have to get Chig on the field. I mean, more than what he is. I mean, he can catch, he can run, and maybe he doesn't block as well as Swain per se. I mean, who knows? He's not on the field that much. But like you said, I just think we have a lot more weapons that we can utilize than what we're doing, and not so predictable with Hollister and Swain in the game and you run a football. Hollister must be the best blocking receiver on the team, because every time he's in the game, they run the ball just about. It's almost like 90% guaranteed, man, for real. And so 361 yards of total offense, 10 drives. Jay, like you said, it wasn't a lot of possessions, 29 minutes of possession. 252 yards passing overall as a team for a total. And, Tannehill throws for 303, 2 touchdowns in that costly pick, which could have been, 264 for Tannehill. I was looking at Carr. And so, again, another half of head scratching coaching decision. And I think more than not, J. Lou, the coaching has really got to be questionable right now, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. And I know everybody doesn't like Downey, but, every player's got to take their share of responsibility to miss blocks, drop balls, bad throws. But man, I mean, you've got to be able to put your players in a position to make plays.
Yeah, man. And I think that's, what we had and what we're missing this year. I think somebody just put a comment in, Lamonte or somebody was like, they don't have a today's NFL coach on the staff.
Yeah, that was Lamonte. Appreciate that.
That's 100% correct. Like that's spot on, man.
Old school. Yeah.
We're still trying to be early 2000s and it's not working. And you see that with everybody. Right. It's just, we have no overall speed on offense. Now you got it on defense, but we knew we were going to miss Harold Landry.
Right.
You're going to miss Bud Dupree with him. Like, again, just go back and look. I fully expect you. And again, don't freak out when the injury report comes out this week and you see did not practice for Big Jeff and for Danico Wednesday and Thursday if they're lucky.
Just to rest up, yeah.
They need them rest days, man, because we're not getting the pass rush. And I don't know. It's almost like Vrabel has his hands in defense again, because we're not blitzing. Like, if you can't get the pass rush with 4 generated, and I don't recall seeing a blitz yesterday until the last drive that the Raiders had. Like, Derek Carr had time. You can get to Derek Carr. He's going to throw you one. I mean, that's just him. He's going to throw it to you, but he had so much time back there because the D-line was just, there was no pressure being given.
Yeah, and to your point, and I know you saw this, man. I know G Witt saw this, and it brought back bad memories to me. Now they're dropping Danico in coverage. Why are we running that zone blitz where he's blitzing linebacker and dropping Danico in coverage? Like, why, man? Why are you doing? Well, and Weaver too.
Go back, because right. Weaver and who's 95? Walker.
Yeah.
Go back and look at the interception KB got. Waller were gonna catch it anyway, because Walker dropped back in coverage and he made the hit that popped it up. But to your point, why are we not letting them rush? Or if you're gonna drop, I don't mind you dropping them back in coverage. If you're gonna drop them back, why is the linebacker not blitzing? Like, that's a zone blitz. If you're dropping them back in a zone, then you got to have somebody blitzing. But we're not doing that. And I just, for the life of me, that has Vrabel's handprints all over it.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's like we talked about last year. Eventually, and it's already been figured out, people are going to figure out the stunts that you run up front. There's only so many stunts you can run with your defensive line.
Yes,
and eventually they're going to pick up, say, oh, okay, well, we know when they put 3 bunched up on one side of the field, they're going to run this loop with the defensive end, try to come back up the middle. And so, eventually they're going to start blitzing. And I don't know what the fear is. Derek Carr, yeah, he's a pretty talented quarterback, but like you said, you get pressure on him, he's going to give you 1 or 2. I do like the fact, like we talked about earlier too, J. Lou, how they had McCreary locked up on Adams for a majority of the game. I really like that. And because, now you put a body on it, you make it tough for him getting off the line of scrimmage. Now, I'm not saying he locked him down by any means, but he played him tough, and you really didn't. He caught 1 touchdown pass. He didn't have as many yards receiving like he normally does. So I thought he did a great job. If it wasn't for Terrence Mitchell, Derek Carr only had 150 yards going into the 4th quarter. If it wasn't for Derek Mitchell,
yes,
which Hollins had 158 of that in the 4th quarter. he don't even get close to 300 yards.
No, I thought we had a good. I mean, if we want to, let's McQuarrie, Roger, and Christian Fulton, those are some dogs,
man.
Like they, I mean,
yes,
and again, you take every cornerback, even if you go back and look at the best in Deion Sanders, they all got once or twice. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's
how you come back and react. So I mean, you know, you saw Fulton get beat once in the game, but after that, lockdown. Same thing with Roger. So you got them guys on the outside. And I think that, to your point, yesterday was probably the first time, because if you look at the Titans historically, we don't travel the cornerbacks ever travel the cornerbacks. And we did a lot of that, where if it wasn't Roger locked up on Devontae, it was Christian Fulton locked up on it. I think that was the first time in the 3 games where it really, since the Buffalo game where we didn't do it, where you said, hey, your superstar receiver is going to go against our number 1 or number 2 corner. So you like that. And that's what you got to do in a defense like ours that wants to play 60 to 70% man. Right. And again, we've got the corners that can play man. So I enjoyed seeing that, because I thought they did a phenomenal job, them young corners we got holding their own.
They did. And you know, it's almost like they figured it out last week. Like, oh, man, well, maybe it'll work. This week we go against Devontae, because against Diggs, they didn't want to try it. Right. And so, but you got a Trey Avery out there last week. Again, you got a Terrence Mitchell out here this week. And so these guys, they bringing it up the street, man. They got to do a better job of scouting these guys before they bring them in, man. They are really terrible in the secondary. That was one of the things we talked about, man. After you know, Fulton, and after McCreary, and after Farley, you know, what else is there? Molden, of course, he'll come back. And then after those 4, you know, Lonnie Johnson, what did he do yesterday? They brought him in to help out. You know, Amani, you know, he was, I don't know, he got hurt. He didn't dress. He got hurt. Yeah. And so he was hurt. And so, you know, you got people that are hurt. The secondary is banged up, and you got like the front guys, like you said, Danico and Jeffrey Simmons playing majority of the plays on defense, and you see the pass rush at the end of the game is non-existent.
Them playing the amount of games is the equivalent of us pounding Derrick Henry away. It's equal. Like, I mean, their defense is tired and don't want to see him in the fourth quarter, and we can't generate a pass rush in the fourth quarter. And I don't think you see Molden, any of these guys that's on IR, that's especially eligible to come back after next week. I really think you don't see them until after the bye. I think just knowing this coaching staff, I think they try to get through Indy and Washington, get through those 2 games, get the bye, and then have everybody ready. So it wouldn't surprise me you see another makeshift this week. Now again, the Colts, I mean, anything is possible. They don't have a receiver of one that could scare you like that. But you put 39 back out on the field, Matt Ryan will find a way to have a Matt Ryan type all-star game.
Right. Deion, I don't know, man. I don't know why the coaches aren't using common sense when it comes. And, you know, I mean, they're the coaches, right? but they're not making the right decisions. Just in our opinion, I agree with you, Lamonte. Aaron Brewer is we talked about that last week. He is weak on the offensive line. He can't hold it. He's only 275 pounds at a guard. Yeah. And he's not strong enough to take on those big defensive tackles. Just wait till we play Fletcher Cox and those guys. And you got Buckner coming up this week. And so, I mean, geez, he's gonna eat his lunch. You know what I'm saying? It's just like Jeffrey Simmons. You know, it's gonna be even worse with the Aaron Brewer. You hate to say that, man, but I mean, but you know, give credit to the offensive line yesterday. They held up pretty good. The run, I think Jay Lou, the Derrick Henry probably ran harder than I've seen him run in a long time.
So I think that, you know, we always say that they treat the first couple of these games as preseason.
Yep.
Derrick, does this go back to historically think about Derrick Henry? It ain't till about October that you really see him in rare form, because he doesn't play in the preseason. And if anybody follows the Titans, goes to training camp and sees it, he's never practicing. He's just in the sand pit working on conditioning. So I think yesterday was the first day in the past 2 games that you saw him run. Like, he had he looked explosive yesterday. He was a half a step away each time from breaking it.
I thought he was.
And he was running behind his pads. Like, I'm pretty certain he knocked one of their cornerbacks out of the game.
He made the tackle.
That's what I thought. He knocked him out of the game when he realized that's how he was running into a Mack truck. So I think you're gonna start to see him get his footing up under him. And let's just go ahead and get this out on the table.
Go ahead.
Everybody was worried about the offensive line. Let's think about 2 years ago. Who was missing yesterday off that offensive line?
Taylor Lewan. That's right.
I just feel like everybody, like I don't, and I know we say Brewers weak, which yeah, he is Pagard. I thought he played his best game out of the three yesterday because I feel like the entire offensive line has to step their game up because they realize they ain't got Taylor. And Taylor's the big name, and we've seen it. I mean, think about it. Derrick Henry had a great rush. He ran for 2,000. I don't know, was it with Taylor? I can't remember if that was the year he tore the ACL or not, but I know the long playoff run that we lost in the AFC Championship game that year was without Taylor, and Henry looked strong those games. So I mean, it could be that the offensive line plays and gels a little bit better when all five got to work because you know that you're missing a key piece on the outside. That's just my thoughts. So we'll see as the season continues. But we were all worried about Mr. Daly over there on the left side.
He did pretty good, man.
He did pretty
Shout
good.
Out to Nathan. Shout out to Nathan. Yeah, Nathan. I was getting ready to bring it up. That I mean, give him his credit. I mean, I dogged him out last week.
Yes.
But man, you got to give him his credit. He held up, like I said, going against Chandler Jones, Max Crosby. Man, that's not the easy task
at all.
And just to give up one sack, and that was. That could be blamed on the quarterback for all I'm concerned.
Yes.
So, that they did pretty good yesterday considering this Raiders pass rush. 5 or 10 on third down efficiency. That's not bad. 50%. The defense did outstanding on third down. 1 for 12 for the Raiders, but on fourth down is where they got 8 up. 100%, 3 for 3. And that's one of those being that 4th and 15 conversion. And so,
I'm not gonna get over that one.
I know, man, you can't get over that one. And so, of course, they'd like to have more turnovers. We did punch a ball out, it went out of bounds or got recovered by the Raiders. I can't remember exactly.
Out of bounds. Yeah.
And so, like we talked about before, they are putting a heavy emphasis on turning the ball over and giving the offense more opportunities to score. We just got to figure out, man, how to play 2 halves of football for this football team. We've seen it 3 weeks in a row.
This team is being outscored in the second half 57-7.
Right.
You cannot sustain winning in the NFL, in any league, college, NFL, high school, being outscored that much in the second half. And again, you hope it's easier to correct tape after a win. You feel better about that.
Right.
And you got a big one coming up, getting into divisional, which let's just be honest, through the first 3 weeks, Jacksonville looked like they're going to give you more of a challenge than you probably would have thought. It's amazing what coaching can do.
The Texans too.
And the Texans as well. So, I mean, the division's not a cupcake. The AFC South went 3-0 yesterday against the AFC West. And everybody before the season started to pick the AFC West to be the most dominant league. And they got shut out by the AFC South yesterday. So any given Sunday, you just got to make those adjustments. Before we move on, Ed, I wanted to bring up, man.
Go ahead.
We ain't talked about this guy since preseason.
Yeah.
And I just, as quiet as it's kept, everybody wants you to drop a ball on the 3-yard line or the 4-yard line when you punt. But we've been saying a punt through the end zone on the 20 is just as good. Your boy had a long of 70 yesterday. He averaged 61 yards a punt. That's what we said it when they got him, because again, he's going to work on learning how to be Kerr and drop him in the goal line. But we said that was twice yesterday. He kicked the ball from our end on the 20 and it went on the other opposite end of the 20. That's changing field. Like he gave our defense a chance to make the Raiders have to drive long every single time. And, right now he's leading the league with almost right under 60 yards a punt. The NFL record is 52 yards for a season. So let's just say, I mean, he has a leg that's going to get you out of any situation. And I thought yesterday, and again, it comes with practice, but I thought yesterday the Gunners did a better job of realizing how long they got to cover. If you go back to week 1 and week 3, I think we've seen a much better job of our Gunners realizing how he's kicking and how quick they got to get down there. But I just want to give Stonehouse a little bit of credit, man, because we always talked about Brett Kerr being a weapon for us. Stonehouse is a weapon because there's not a spot on the field that he's not flipping the field position.
That's right. And I don't think there'll be a time, like you said, that he can kick it out of the back of his own end zone. It's probably going to get about the 30 on the other end.
Right.
And so it's another thing, J. Lou, and I want to bring up, speaking about the offense, why not get Dontrell Hilliard more involved in the pass game? I mean,
So
again, you see it again for the two out of 3 games, right? Against the Giants, he had the matchup advantage. Again, you see it again in this game. Another matchup advantage. He goes 30 yards on the one reception to get to convert it, a long third down, and you don't see him anymore in the pass game.
I wonder if he was on a snap count, a pitch count, coming in with the hamstring and trying to keep him healthy. Because again, I'm gonna be honest. We was out there yesterday and we got spoiled week 1 because it was a 3:00 start and you didn't have to deal with no sun. Right. It was hot on that field yesterday. You saw guys cramping up. I mean, Christian Fulton, I was glad when he went down. I hated when he went down, but when he went down, you could see his calf tighten up from a cramp. So I wonder if they probably had him on a pitch count yesterday, because you're right, is open as the check down to the receivers were. And again, the second half, we went away from the screen game and we even went away from Hillard. To your point, I wonder if that was just managing him within the game, which I wouldn't put it past his coaching staff, because that's what we do.
And we talked about at length and at depth and nausea about this team and how none of the starters played in the preseason, and it's going to take them a few weeks to get it. Well, you saw it yesterday. You saw Bobby Trees look like he was fully healthy. Fully healthy. You mentioned Derrick Henry, and so Treylon Burks looks better. The offensive line looks better. And so, as bad as it is that they didn't play and they had, and I'm not making an excuse for them, but, the first 2 weeks, you could tell the difference yesterday. You could tell the difference as far as the urgency, because of course they didn't want to go down 0-3, but the urgency was there. The execution was a lot better, at least in the first half of the game, than it was what you saw the last few quarters they put together against the Giants and the Bills.
Yeah, and I thought on both sides of the ball they played faster. Like I thought, I know we've been harping on Cunningham. They were hitting, like Monty Hooker.
He got stiff arm too, though.
He got stiff arm through the ground. But man, he was, what you like about him, he's scrappy, because he was bringing that hat. And even Cunningham on the play, he got hurt. That was a heck of a play that he made, that he got hurt on. Now you hope it's nothing. His elbow looked like it was not how it's supposed to be when he was coming off the field. But I thought the linebackers played fast. And then kudos to Dylan Cole. Is it? They stepped in for him. Cole. The guy that blew the 2-point conversion against Saquon. He's the one that tipped the ball before Byard tipped it on the 2-point this time. And again, I thought he played a little faster. Still can be a little crisp on tackling, but I think overall, and again, we're gonna keep harping on it, and nobody will ever be able to prove it, because I'm sure his stats can go both ways. But you took away the 4th preseason game, which back in the day made the starters played at least 2.5. They ain't played none. So if you add these 2 games to those 3 we had, that's your preseason in essence to this team. And you're starting to see this team, at least this past Sunday, you saw them look like, that they were ready to roll.
Right. Let me get this in, because Lamonte said outdated blocking schemes and can't develop players. So one thing we talked about, and we'll talk about it now since that comment was out there. And so, it's time to get caught up with the league. So the league now, you see a lot of these young gunslingers that the teams are building around these franchise quarterbacks. It's time. It's time to do that. Is that Malik Willis? Maybe. We'll see. He's got the tools to be that young gunslinger type quarterback that can make the sidearm throws, that can make the deep throws. He got a rocket, can fit it in tight windows. Mobile guy, agile. It's time. Yes. I mean, as much as we love Derrick Henry, that type of football is phasing out, because you see all the teams that are constantly in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Those are teams that can really throw the football. And the running backs are the guys like Aaron Jones that can catch and run out of the backfield, those type of backs. And I'm not saying you can't win a Super Bowl with this type of offense, because you can, but you need to be able to score points, right? You can't have your defense on the field the whole game, as we saw yesterday. What ended up, like you said, it was a hot day out there, and those guys were sucking eggs in that 4th quarter. So
man, you've got, again, it goes back to that earlier comment he made about having coaches on the staff. The game of football has changed at every level. That's coach high school, we see it out there in high school. They more spread offense than anything there in high school. Up tempo. Same thing in college. And then the NFL has turned that way when you look at these quarterbacks. Again, running game is always going to get you there, but look at Buffalo Bills. The Bills ran for 115 yards. Now, take away about 40 of that. It was in garbage time.
Right.
But they still ran for over 100 yards last week. And you wouldn't know that because of how their offense functions. Same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs and so on. So we've got to, build around there where, again, the days of the big bruising running back are coming far and few between. You got Derrick Henry, you got Chubb, who again is not an every down back.
Right.
Jonathan Taylor's probably closer, but again, they still bring him off on third down and go with they backup. So you've got you starting to see a lot more running back by committee and a lot of these shifty running back guys that can catch it out of the backfield, can run in between the tackles, outside the tackles, etc. But we've got to start changing because 24 points isn't going to cut it. I mean, if you're not able to score 30 to 35, you're not going to win a lot of football games.
Right. Right. And so, like I said, the Titans 24, the Raiders 22. The Titans get their first dub of the season, Jay Lou. And we roll on, man. We open up AFC South competition on the road this week at Indianapolis. And we look at the Colts. Of course, they tied the first week with the Texans. They lost to the Jags 24-0 week before that. And then they came out at home and beat the Chiefs, which was kind of surprising, right? Kind of surprising. But like you said, you just never know which team's going to show up. You never know which Matt Ryan's going to show up because, he's one of those that'll throw the ball to you. And Jay Lou, if they're not blitzing this game, something's wrong.
So I was going to say the same thing. He's not mobile at all.
At all.
And so, you would expect, just looking at the now, I think Michael Pittman was back yesterday, so you would expect Pittman to play. So that's his number one receiver.
Right.
So you expect Fulton to be on him. Outside of that, it's more the tight end game, and you're gonna see a heavy dose of Jonathan Taylor. This has the chance to be an ugly, low scoring game. But I think the opportunity for us to create turnovers. This is the game that we've got to take advantage of that. Matt Ryan, again, to throw you one, you could get after him. I mean, you saw that if you go back and look at that game they had against the Jags pressured him all game long.
Oh, yeah, all game
long. You got him off his throws, etc. So this is one we know that Indy is going to be hyped up to beat us. This is all the owner has talked about all season. It's in their stadium. And again, Indy's schedule is kind of weird as where by October, because we finished up with them on October 23rd. So by the 23rd, they would have already had 4, if not 5 AFC South games already in. And then they got one at the very end of the season. So you got a chance to really continue to knock them down. But I expect a hard-hitting, hard battle game again. Now, you don't know if they'll get Leonard back this week. He had back surgery. He hasn't played at all this season. So some opportunity there to get the running game going. But it's going to be this is another one where our offensive line is going to be challenged. They know that we're going to want to run the ball, and it's just how can we impose our will. And it's interesting to see. We started talking about when it comes to the mentals of the athlete. This is the spot where Derrick Henry went down last year. Right. So how is he mentally? How is he reacting to that field turf? And because I'm almost positive this is our first game on field turf this year. Yeah, because we was in Buffalo. I was outside, and we've been at home.
Well, Buffalo got turf.
Yeah, they didn't got their little turfs. See how he reacts to that. But I expect, I've always, and I kept saying it during the offseason, and this is the time where I just feel like Vrabel's a better coach than Frank Wright. Surely to goodness,
I agree.
You allow Tim Kelly. This is where you allow Tim Kelly. Again, you don't even have to announce that Todd Downing is no longer the offensive coordinator. He can keep the title. Mm-hmm. We don't. All you got to do is change play calling, and nobody will ever know.
Nobody
except
will ever
you
know.
And the team. So this is one of those where you just allow Tim Kelly to go back and look at that first half where everybody thinks Tim Kelly had his hands involved, and allow him to do that this week and get out of there with a dub.
Right. And I agree with you, Deion. The problem, I think they could use Derrick. I do. I mean, you saw it. You saw that first half. You saw it some of that third quarter, how they use Derrick out of the backfield. He could be used in a modern offense. You just got to have the coaches that know how to scheme it up. And I think that's what the problem is. And
he's a weapon. If you really hope that you can get 2 more good years out of Henry, because to what Deion just said, and you said, with Malik in the backfield and Henry, the read option becomes dangerous.
it becomes real
between them
dangerous.
two, with those two.
Right. It becomes real dangerous. Kwanye says, how do we feel about Austin Hooper not giving enough effort to get the first down? So first off, let me say this. I thought it was a bad spot. I really did. But to your point, he could have put forth more effort. He could have dropped his shoulder and try to run the guy over. But I think they gave him a bad. Even Vrabel was kind of upset about that spot that they gave him. But go ahead.
I'm gonna slightly disagree. And you know why I'm gonna disagree? Because I'm gonna say play calling design. How many times have we got on here and talked about the Titans running plays that takes you a yard before the sticks?
That's right.
And if I'm not mistaken, he fell on that one and could have just rolled over and didn't roll.
It looked like it, right? It looked like he just rolled over.
I really like that was the first thing I screamed is here we go again, run it 3rd and 10, and we run a 9-yard route because the route didn't even take him to the sticks. So again, I think that's partially play calling design because we've seen it too many times in this offense. And again, football awareness where, okay, I know I've got to get 10 yards because there was that literally the play call was perfect. You throw it out towards the sidelines. It's either me or the sidelines catching the ball, get the 10 yards. But it don't work when you throw it 3rd and 9. You throw it on for 9 yards instead of 10.
It's this typical
Titans
football. It just don't ever make any sense, man. Why run a 5-yard route when you need 7 yards? I don't get it, man. So a tough game on the road this week for the Two-Tone Blue. The coach, like you said, licking their chops. Their main goal is to beat the Titans this year. Like the owner said it like 800 times so far already. And we're only in week 4. And I'm sure he's gonna say it again this week. Like you said, you don't know if Leonard's gonna be back or not. But the offensive line is going to have their hands full with that big front on the defense for those guys. That Tampa 2 defense is tough to crack. But again, they've had some chinks in their armor so far this year. They did beat the Chiefs though this past weekend, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of game plan that the Titans come out with this week. Are they going to try to just smash it down their throat and enforce that? Are we going to run the ball regardless of how many people in the box? Or are they going to open it up like they did the first half of this last game? And you see Hilliard coming out of the backfield. You see crossing routes. You see Bobby Trees getting in the mix. You got, and again, I think somebody said it on that. They're just not scheming enough for me to get Burks involved. Burks can be that guy. He can.
You saw it on the sweep he took. There's no reason that there's not 10 to 12 plays designed for Burks.
That's right.
He needs, and it's no different than we said it when AJ was here. AJ needed about 10 targets. You get your top dogs 10 targets. At least. If you can get Burks at least 10 targets, I mean, and this is say 8 of them are successful. That's eight explosive plays that you have the opportunity to have. And again, I don't get how we're not scheming him, how we're not scheming Chig. Like it's all the dreams that you sold us during the offseason, you're not seeing it come to fruition yet.
Right. And anytime Swain got more targets than Burks, I mean, I got a problem with that.
Yeah,
I got a problem
you and me both.
It just don't make sense to me at all. It's just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I just don't. Maybe we just don't see what they see, I guess. Man. I don't know, but it looks simple on TV. It does look simple on TV. Thank y'all again for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjust. We know it was a different night today, man. We were unavailable yesterday, had to push it to the night. So all of y'all that jumped on and got your comments and questions in, we do appreciate it. If we didn't answer your question or make your statement known, just give us a chance. We'll get back to you as well. But J. Lou, man, on the road this week, the Colts. What you think, man? What's your gut feeling?
My gut feeling is we can go up there and we'll steal one. I think we build on the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to have to take their punch because I think they're going to be juiced up.
Yeah.
And I think we can get about that punch. But I really think this is a time where we see our defense kind of rise up. They've been suspect. I mean, they're almost dead last against the rush. Now, a lot of that was because of Saquon week 1 of the Giants. But I think this is the week where you give them guys some rest. During practice weeks, you might see a few more. I know they signed, and he had to come to the team. They signed a defensive lineman off of the Jags practice squad today. So when you sign him off practice squad, they got to go to the 53.
Right.
So I think they're trying to get some bodies in there because I think Vrabel's smart enough to know that you can't be successful this season with Danico and Big Jeff playing as much as they did. So I think you'll see a little bit more D linemen called up, especially going against a team that's built to run. I'm curious, and again, I saw it in the chat. What's Cunningham's status? Because you didn't hear nothing If he can't go, linebacker play becomes that much more important because the depth we talked about during the season, the depth's not there. You got Monty Rice out, you got Dylan Cole back. Chance Campbell, I think, is out or whatnot. So you don't have the depth there. But I think this is when we find a way. I really think special teams wins this game. If you go back and look outside of the stupid penalties, which one of them yesterday on the kickoff return was phantom. That wasn't even a hold.
Right.
But I think we finally cracked a huge return in either a punt or kickoff. Whether that be bringing it all the way back to a touchdown or setting up a very close touchdown, I think special teams is something that'll pull out this game. And I'm interested to see Stonehouse. I mean, I don't want to see Stonehouse punt indoors. That means we're doing good. But I'm interested to see him indoors because with no wind and no conditions, this might be pretty. But I think we can go out there and gut out something like a 24-20, very close battle type win.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I actually think it's going to be like the last time we was up there, that 34-31 type score. Field goal difference, like you said, or it comes down to that last possession and who can make a play on that last possession. I mean, it's the Colts, man. We know we're gonna get their best punch. You said, they're gonna be juiced up. We've won the division. We've been dominating the division here lately, and they want that title back, division champs, away from us. And so. Mario Edwards is who was signed off the Jacksonville practice squad, defensive lineman, and they waived the linebacker from the Steelers that they had signed, Derek Tuska, and so we'll see, man. It's gonna be pretty interesting, like you said. Interesting signing today to add more depth to that defensive line because of all the reps that's being played at this time, and so. It goes to show you that they probably don't have a lot of confidence what's behind those guys. I mean, Walker's playing good, Naquan, and so well, we'll see. We'll see what happens though.
I mean, we still ain't heard. Right now, I guess the good news is Bud Dupree didn't go on injured IR.
Yeah, that's good.
So I mean, but you don't know how his hip is because again, You've got to get him back. It's one thing to be missing her. And this is no knock on Rashad Weaver because I thought Weaver played good.
I thought he played real good.
I just think he's playing too many snaps.
Yeah.
Right. He's not, we always said it about Harold Landry, but Harold Landry's built different. Mm-hmm. He was conditioned to play those. I think that Weaver's playing himself into football shape to play as many snaps. But I thought he played well, but you've got to have Bud Dupree. If anything, he can set the edge.
Right.
We're missing that on the run. And that's where I expect the Colts to attack us this weekend is Jonathan Taylor, not up the middle, because they know Big Jeff is going to be eating those guards. I mean, him and Quentin, that's going to be a good matchup between him and
Quentin Nelson.
Nelson,
but he kind of roughs up Quentin Nelson a little bit. You don't see it too often. You don't see it too often against Quentin Nelson, but he roughs him up a little bit. He roughs
him up. So I expect him to try to run outside the tackles a little bit. And again, the Colts offensive line is not the line of old.
Right.
So again, you can get after him. So if you can nullify the run, and that Jonathan Taylor is just like Derrick Henry. He's going to get his when he can get them.
Right.
But if you can nullify that and stop, is it Naheem? What is that?
Hines,
Naheem Hines, because he's the
third
Titan
down back.
killer.
That's right.
He's the Titan killer. If we can stop them and force Matt Ryan to have to throw the ball, I like our chances because I think again we can get after him.
I do too. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, and if we get after Matt Ryan, we've got to bring some heat, man. You talking about a guy that's not mobile at all. At this point, especially, I mean, he never was a mobile quarterback. Let's say that. And at the point of his career he's in now, I mean,
at 37, he's definitely not.
Right.
And even if that's bringing heat as the cornerbacks, like we didn't even see no corner blitzes from the slot or anything, or the safety. Is it because of Molden and you didn't want to have? If anything, put Farley in at a blitz. We know he's got speed.
Yeah,
put him in at just the blitz, but it's. We've got to generate pressure somehow, and you're not getting it with just your front four. So
no,
you got to take a chance this game and do something to get him. And he can give us turnovers, and I think you see Kevin Byard. I think you see these safeties really come up big this game for us.
Yeah, and I agree, man. I think the defense is gonna come to play ball. They know it's the Colts. A lot of bulletin board material. We built this team to beat the Titans, is what they've been saying.
Yes.
And so I expect them to come out and be ready to play. And like you said, we're 3 weeks in now, week 4. So now they're getting some game shape, like you mentioned, and you're starting to see it be displayed on the field. Not to make an excuse for those first 2 games, of course, but you saw a difference. You could tell the difference yesterday.
Oh yeah.
And of course, a lot of it's driving force of going 0-3, but then the rest of it is them getting into shape and getting ready to play. And so, but hey, Deion says Matt Ryan wears concrete cleats nowadays.
He does, man. He moved worse than Phillip Rivers did.
Right. And so we'll see, man. We'll see what the game plan is going to be, and hopefully, like I said, the offense turn the first half of this past game against the Raiders into 2 halves of football against the Colts, and put up 30-some points and give your defense a chance to get off their feet and kind of relax a little bit, not have to be sucking wind at the end of the game because they're trying to rush the quarterback to preserve the victory. So again, thank y'all for joining us for another episode of Halftime Adjustments tonight. Eddie Arnell, Jay Lou, G Wick couldn't be with us tonight, man, but he'll be back with us on the next show. We'll be back next weekend, ladies and gentlemen, after the Colts game. Check us out, man. We'll be doing that recap live. Get your comments and questions in, man. We appreciate y'all supporting the show and the love of the show, and join us again next week. Eddie Arnell, Jay Lou, man, we're Halftime Adjustments. We are out of here. Peace.